Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Jenny. I'm a life coach, and today I'm talking about the rules for the empath rebellion, or how to deal with emotionally immature people. This is for when normal, healthy communication doesn't work, because it doesn't matter what should work. It doesn't matter what it matters what does work. Okay. And we're tired of surviving, and it's time for us to start thriving. Okay. And so we have to stop trying to change people and just look at ways to defend ourselves against them. Protect our energy. This burden is not really yours. It shouldn't be yours. But again, healthy, normal communication does not work on a lot of these people. We live on a very dysfunctional planet. So, the very common piece of advice for protecting yourself is having boundaries. Boundaries don't always work, but let's start there. Okay, it's a good place to start. So, boundaries cannot be used as a way to manipulate people or to control people. Using them that way will always backfire. Um, when you set a boundary, you have to assume that the other person is not going to change. It's hard to set boundaries because we're scared of negative reactions from other people. We feel those in our body. When someone has a negative reaction, we have to feel that too. So, the safer you feel in your body, the easier setting boundaries is going to be. You have to learn that you are not responsible for other people's feelings or reactions. You are responsible for your stuff, and everyone else is responsible for their stuff. The hard thing about boundaries is that you have to be prepared to enforce them. Um, so, a boundary can sound the same as an ultimatum, but they mean two different things because it's about your intent. Um, the wrong way to use them is to try to get the other person to change. The right way to use them is to protect yourself. It's a statement of your needs and what you will do if those needs are not met. Boundaries come from a place of deep love. They are about self care, but they're also about care for the other person as well. Because when you set a boundary, it protects them from you resenting them, it protects the health of the relationship. So, if you need to start embodying boundaries, you have to remember it is not your job to fix others. It is okay for others to get angry. It is okay to say no. Other people are not your responsibility. It is not your job to anticipate the needs of other people, at least adults. It is your job to make you happy. No one has to agree with you. You have a right to your own feelings. You are enough for you. You don't need to be enough for them. Adults are everyone is in charge of themselves. You're in charge of yourself, they're in charge of themselves. So, to set a boundary, decide what it is you want, focus on your needs, and use your preferred mode of communication. And then be prepared to hold yourself responsible for what you said you would do if that boundary was crossed. This is the hard part. So, it's not about control, it's about preservation. And that's the key. It's not selfish. It's just recognizing that your needs are just as important as everyone else's, and you are giving them the gift of the chance to honor that. Um, if your boundaries push people away, that's actually a good thing. It shows you that the boundary was needed. Sometimes boundaries do cause a relationship death, but only when that death was needed. It's helpful if you can build in time. If you can be prepared ahead of time, okay, communicate when you're ready. Use whatever form of communication feels best to you, even if it's indirect, even if it's an email, even if it's a text. Okay. Should you talk to their face? Maybe. But if you can't, or if that's too triggering, then the most important thing is just that you use whatever form of communication is important to you. Sometimes we don't realize that a boundary has been crossed until later. You don't realize it in the moment. Sometimes we just know that we feel triggered. So try to pause, notice that you're triggered, try to take space, think about what happened, what emotions are yours, what emotions are theirs that you're mistaking for yours, then decide what you can do about it. One of the problems with boundaries is that they don't fix stupid, okay? Um, they don't make unconscious people conscious, okay? So, for example, if you have a roommate who's always using your stuff, um, and then you say, hey, can you like not touch this thing of mine? Maybe it registers that they can't touch that thing of yours, but it doesn't register that they just shouldn't touch anything of yours, okay? Um, a lot of people can't conceive the essence of stupid people can't conceive the essence of a boundary. Like, oh, I'm just not supposed to touch this one thing instead of, oh, I just shouldn't touch other people's stuff. Um, so they don't fix stupid. And to have to tell someone, not to touch 100 of your things separately is a waste of your energy. So you have to pick and choose, when boundaries aren't going to work. Um, when we're in a situation that makes us uncomfortable and we choose to be polite instead of honest, we are actually holding on to that person's discomfort for them. So you do need to pick and choose when you want to set a boundary. Okay, but they are important because otherwise you're just holding their discomfort for them. It's important to recognize that it is safe for you to be disliked. Sometimes it is safer for you to be disliked because being disliked means that you will repel people who are going to take advantage of you. Um, Focus on how people make you feel. The way someone makes you feel is enough. You don't have to have a logical reason. If someone makes you feel drained, even if you don't have a logical reason, that's enough for you to have a boundary in place. If someone makes you feel bad, you don't need to ask if the reason is in your head. Just trust your feelings, because no matter how much you reason it, that feeling is not going to go away. No matter how much you try to logic your way out of it, that feeling is not going to go away. We usually have a lack of boundaries because we weren't allowed to have them growing up. But at this point, it's to avoid rejection and loneliness. Um, so you have to kind of embrace rejection, okay? Embrace being disliked and pay attention to when you feel angry because anger is a good sign that a boundary has been violated. You can try nonviolent communication. Usually, it doesn't work with emotionally immature people. But a good example of this is when you do X, I feel Y. Okay. You don't want to be accusatory. You don't want to assign malintent. You just want to focus on the effect on you. When you do X, I felt Y. Embrace your dark side. If you felt in love, if you have loved toxic people, they were mirroring you, okay? The parts that you repress, so you can embrace your sexiness, your unhingedness, your wildness, okay? And hold on to the depths of your compassion. Um, Loving someone broken is not a weakness. It's a strength, okay? But it doesn't mean you're supposed to martyr yourself over it. You can alchemize the lessons. Another strategy is to play stupid. Manipulative, consciously manipulative people will be less covert if they think you're stupid. Okay, they'll expose themselves if they think you're too stupid to notice. So if you want to know if you can trust people, just pretend to be stupid. Practice self-compassion because toxic people are attracted to guilt and shame, which means you need to stop guilting and shaming yourself over everything. Practice self-care. Every time you have to do something for a draining person, do something for you, right? If you've decided that your parents are emotionally immature, but you still want them in your life and you're going to go, help them move, do something for you of equal value. Um, Many people care deeply about themselves and neglect others. Many care deeply about others and neglect themselves. The trick is to stop neglecting yourself. Okay. The trick is to find the balance between caring deeply for other people and yourself. Don't love other people more than you. Focus on actions, not words. Focus on facts, not feelings. Um, how someone makes you feel matters. I'm not saying to ignore those types of feelings. But like if you feeling a love for a toxic person and ignoring the facts, okay, that's the type of thing I'm talking about here. Take everything with a grain of salt. Don't take criticism from people you wouldn't take advice from. And don't take advice from people who don't have what you want. Consciously decide whose opinions that you care about. Um, with especially narcissistic people, fluffing is another strategy, which is being overly positive, but giving overly positive but ultimately meaningless responses. So if you have a narcissist you can't get away from, like if it's a boss, just give them lots of compliments without ever actually giving them meaningful conversation. Gray rocking, when you can control how much interaction you have with a narcissist, is to make yourself as uninteresting and unresponsive as possible. Just give very short, non emotional answers to everything. You want to become boring to them because they're feeding on emotions. Embarrassing them. Narcissists care a lot about appearances. If you make them look bad, they're going to want to associate with you less. This works with the ones who just won't let you go. Dilute them by surrounding yourself with positive role models. Okay. The more positive energy you have around you, the lower effect negative people are going to have. Focus on what you want and not who you want. We pick who we want and then we bend the rules for them. If you focus on what you want, they can choose to meet those expectations or not. It feels a lot less mean because we're not ruling them out. Okay. We're allowing them to decide if they're going to meet our qualifications or not. They're ruling themselves out that way. There's a type of therapy called ABA therapy, which is used on neurodivergent people, especially autistic people. It has very inhumane roots. It's basically used to train people like animals. It has very dehumanizing roots. Um, Modern day, it can be very helpful. Okay, I don't want to discredit the helpfulness of it, but I think it actually works better when neurodivergent people use it on other people. Okay, so one way you can use ABA therapy on other people is to put them on extinction. Stop reacting to behaviors that you do not want. You have to be prepared for an extinction first, which means they're going to try the behavior even harder. They're going to flood you with it before you reach extinction mode. So, for example, if you said you don't want to talk to someone anymore and they're still calling you, and you decide to ignore that call, put it on extinction, then they're going to all of a sudden call you a whole bunch, even more than ever. Okay. And so you have to ride the wave of the extinction burst, but then eventually the behavior should go extinct. Operant conditioning comes from animal training. Also, think this is very helpful for neurodivergent people to survive in a dysfunctional world. In operant conditioning, you use rewards and punishments to influence how an animal behaves. A punishment is anything that is used to decrease a behavior. A reward or a reinforcement is anything that is used to increase a behavior. When you add the terms positive and negative in this sense, it doesn't mean good or bad. Positive means you are adding something to change a behavior, and negative means you are taking something away to change a behavior. So punishment is meant to decrease, reinforcement is meant to increase. Positive means you are adding something, negative means you are taking something away. So positive punishment, adding something to decrease a behavior, would be something like a shock collar in an animal. Don't put shock collars on people. Positive reward Adding something to increase a behavior is like giving a treat. Negative punishment, taking something away to decrease a behavior, is like taking away a toy. Negative reward, taking something away to increase a behavior, is like taking off a leash so they can run. So the most humane options, um, for animals and people, is positive reward, or negative reward. It's focusing on increasing wanted behaviors over decreasing unwanted behaviors. Um, yeah, shot collars aren't humane, you guys. Um, they um, they might get the behavior that you want, but it also injures your trust and your relationship. However, it's good to know the other options in case the humane options aren't working. Don't wait for apologies. The people who wounded you cannot help you heal because they haven't found the way themselves. They can't give you an authentic apology unless they have healed themselves, and they probably haven't. So you have to leave them behind, find other people to depend on, and the watched pot never boils with people's healing. Okay, you have to let them find their way on their own. Whoever cares the most has the least power. There's an abuse story I read where the social worker was working with domestic violence victims. And usually in domestic violence, the abuse always, always, always gets worse. And she met one woman whose husband had stopped abusing her. And so she asked what changed. And what changed was the woman pulled a loaded gun on her husband. Okay. So I'm not telling you to pull guns on people, but that's what I mean by whoever cares the most has the least power. Okay. She lost all of her fucks, that woman who pulled the gun. So you have to demote their importance. Um, on a mortal level, the people who hurt you deserve hatred. On a spiritual level, they are only landmarks. So don't give them more significance than they deserve. I really love Mel Robbins and let them theory, which is just accept people for who they are, let them do what they're going to do, just choose how you're going to respond to it. What are you going to do about it? In a way that absolves them, okay, from anything. Um, Detachment and compartmentalization are important with people who don't change. It's very easy for us to feel responsible for other people's emotions because we absorb them, we feel them. We need to create a life that is immune to other people. No matter what they're doing, we have a beautiful and happy life, regardless. When we feel alone and lonely all the time, it's very easy for us to accept any kind of connection, even if it's toxic. Um, but But if you have a beautiful and happy life, then you're never going to need toxic relationships to have connection. Stop carrying other people's burdens for them. Healing means we need to own our shit and no one else's. To be carefree means to stop worrying about other people's mistakes for them. Stop internalizing other people's trauma to the point that it becomes your trauma. Their trauma might be very sad, but it is also their problem. Trust adults to solve their own problems. With immature people who you can't get away from, sometimes reverse psychology can be a really good trick. Like, oh, it's okay. Like, I know you were never going to do the dishes. Okay. And they'll be like, yes, I was. I'm going to do them right now. Okay. Let people think they're right. Agree with them, even if they're wrong. There's people who want to be right and there's people who want to be happy. Sometimes the best comeback is to let someone stupid stay stupid. Let them keep believing that they're right. So self-care is not arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Winning is not getting people to see your side or getting them to agree with you. Winning is whatever drains your energy the least. And so if agreeing with them is what gets them to leave you alone, if it's what gets them to go away, if it's what drains your energy the least, just agree. Stop talking. A lot of people are too defensive for verbal communication to work. which is when you have to communicate through your actions, through removing your energy. Repeat what they say back to them. If they're saying absurd things, repeat what they say back to them. Answer their questions with more questions. Stop believing in exceptions. We always want to believe in exceptions with people. Stop waiting for potential. We can see potential. We see people's potential. That potential is real and is true and it's there, but it can take multiple lifetimes for people to realize their potential. There's a really good chance they won't realize it in this lifetime. And if they do, it's not going to be until you detach. Don't protect people from their consequences. Toxic people don't change because other people are suffering. They only change because they are suffering. They only change because they are suffering. Allowing people to face the consequences of their actions is an act of love. It's how we love, it's how we develop resilience. It's how we wake up to the need to work on ourselves. Some people need to hit rock bottom before they can change, and we need to stay out of the way, or we're keeping them from reaching that inflection point. Stubborn people don't listen to warnings because warnings are pain-free. Pain is a gift. Pain induces change. So allowing people to experience the pain of their actions can be an act of love. Destructive people can't feel their burden if you are carrying the weight for them. And once you see that as love, that is the turning point. Don't get in the way of people's karma. Some people are supposed to learn painful lessons. And when you interfere, you are keeping them from learning that lesson. It can actually rob them of empowerment. Some people want to suffer. Some people want to punish themselves, and they will also punish you for getting in their way. And so some people are not meant to heal in this lifetime. It's hard to feel like you're leaving people behind, but it's also often necessary. Learn to say no. We don't trust ourselves to say no. A lot of the times in the moment, we'll just say yes. It helps to take time to reflect, to listen to your intuition. The more calm and relaxed and less anxious you are, the easier it is to say no in the moment. Be kind instead of nice. Being a good person does not look like overgiving. There's a difference between nice and kind. Okay, being nice is telling people what they want to hear. Being kind is telling people what they need to hear. You can't truly be peaceful unless you are also capable of violence. If you're not capable of violence or being mean, then you're not peaceful, you're harmless. Because you don't have the option available to you to be anything else. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. This is how you start breaking people-pleasing habits. Stop feeling bad for feeling bad. We people please to avoid abandonment. It's an attempt to control other people's perception of us. And once we face that, we can finally start letting go of it. Stop violating your own boundaries from a desire to be liked. Allow yourself to match people's energy. Lie to liars, steal from thieves, match people's energy. Let them have consequences. Sympathy keeps a lot of people trapped in relationships with toxic people because trauma created those toxic people. But that's the same trauma that they're forcing onto you, and you are choosing differently. You are choosing differently. So you don't really need to give someone sympathy who is making a different choice than you're making. Okay, you have trauma too. They're giving you more trauma on top of what you already have, and you're choosing differently, which means they could also choose differently, and they're choosing not to. So stop having so much sympathy for people. Normalize lying to people who ask you too many questions about your personal life or who don't respect your boundaries. Is lying ideal? No. Is it necessary? Sometimes. Um, Stop worrying about being good enough for other people and just worry about being good enough for you. You will never be good enough for other people. You can always be good enough for you. You have to respect your choices. You have to feel good about your choices. You are the only person that you need approval from. And if nothing else works, sometimes no contact is the only option. Okay, I think of this as euthanasia energy. I worked with animals for a really long time, and sometimes I had to help put animals to sleep. We never did it for the wrong reasons, okay? We never had an animal with a treatable condition, okay, that the owner just couldn't afford, and so sometimes the owners even asked for euthanasia, and we said no. We would rehome the animal, okay, or we would take on that expense of giving the animal treatment, okay, but we never did it for the wrong reasons. We only did it when it was the only humane option. And sometimes no contact is the only humane option. Some toxic people, you have to think of it like they have rabies. There's no cure. It's not their fault. It's very sad, okay? But they're not going to get better. And the only humane thing to do is to cut them off. If you've ever had to put a pet to sleep, think about this energy that you're stepping into. Um, as sad as it is, sometimes that is the metaphorical energy you need for dealing with certain people. It's them or it's you. If you don't euthanize them, they will euthanize you. You have to abandon them, and this is very hard because we have huge abandonment wounds ourselves, and we don't want to do that to another person. But sometimes the only way to win the game is not to play. That's everything I have for today, everybody. Your homework is to offend people or piss people off, okay, on purpose. Not in a way that's mean. Okay, I'm saying like if you know a boundary is going to piss someone off, go do it anyway. Or if you know having a strong opinion that you truly believe in is going to piss someone off, do it anyway. Okay, I'm not saying go hurt people just to hurt people. I'm saying use your standards to allow people to get offended. That's everything I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and if you want more information, there's links in the description. Bye.